Hey everyone, welcome to the weekly outlook. Today is the 5th of March 2023. Um, let's see how last week actually played out. So let me just go onto another screen before we do look at this. So what can we see? What did I say last week? Let's actually go back to um last week. Price was around 16, it closed at 16295, right? That was, where was that? That was here Monday. Yeah, that was here. So what did I say? I said that, all right, cool. Um, Price is clearly in this area, right? We saw price retest this area right here of 161,683. And what did I say? I said to everyone that we can see price heading into 165. And that's exactly what happened. We saw price push all the way up into 165. Where were we? We were, let's say here. Yeah, we were here. What did we see? We saw price retest this area of support and resistance. We saw have a huge engulfing, and we said that we can see price extending up into 165. And if you pay attention to exactly what happened, we can see price did that. We saw a huge rejection and some nice move to the downside, right? So that played out perfectly on GBP, JPY. That's our second week in a row where we've read the market with great accuracy, but that's not what it's all about. It's actually about getting into the market, actually being able to have the level head and the mentality, the patience, the sharpness, the mental sharpness, the bravery to actually get into the trade. That's what's important. Um, right now, I'm not here for that. Right now, I'm just here to just give you some weekly outlooks to help you guys see and see how I look at this pair. Today I'm going to be having an outlook on gold and GBP JPY. So let's get into it. All right. So what we can see on the weekly time frame, we can clearly see that we are bullish, right? We can see that the weekly is forming higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher high, higher high, higher high, higher high, and overall the structure is bullish, right? As we are continuing on from our previous weekly outlooks. All right. So based off this information, we can see we're bullish. However, we also need to consider how price is actually closing. We can see the last weekly candle had left a huge wick to the upside, right? We can see a huge wick to the upside. So this tells us that sellers are coming into the market and there's huge selling pressure last week. So we need to take this into consideration and not just buy just because we can see higher highs and higher lows. We need to take this into consideration and potentially see, all right, this may mean we may see some pullbacks into 16815 before we can continue this upside momentum, right? We shall see. But we can see that if we were to retrace, we could see us potentially retesting the previous weekly resistance, which was broken. We can see price tapping into this area on the weekly time frame before we pump into 168.817. If you go on the daily time frame, what can we see? We can see that there was huge bullish momentum, right? We had this bullish momentum, and then we pulled back with two candles. We pulled back with two candles, right? Then we had another huge bullish momentum, right? And then we saw a pullback of two candles. Then we had this next huge bullish momentum. But this time, we didn't really close the same as we did here. We had these two, this closed half of the previous candle, kind of, and continued with another bearish candle. This closed half of the previous candle and continued with another bearish candle. But the difference here is that we never just closed nearly half of the previous candle. We left a huge wick to the upside. So this higher high is a bit different to these two. Also, we can see this is the third pump. So maybe price is starting to get exhausted to the upside, and we can potentially see a bigger pullback than just these two candles. And we can see 1, 2, 3, 4 candles have formed since the previous pullback. This tells us that this pullback is a bit weaker, um, um, in the sense that we could potentially, stronger, sorry, because we can see that price made up its mind of where it's going to go reverse. Here is a bit indecisive. So this could tell us potentially we can push down a bit further especially with the wicks left on the upside on the weekly and the daily time frame. So we need to consider that. Doesn't mean I'm bearish, but we just need to consider this in when we are adapting to what the market tells us as we go along the week. So what I've done is I've actually left a weekly area of daily support resistance, sorry, at the bodies of 164.313. I can see potentially if price can come into this area and maintain below this area, we can potentially see some downside movement into 162.500, which is a nice quarterly level, or potentially around 162, 16185, 0.815. The reason why I see a potential, if I was to look for sales, I potentially see a pullback up here because I'm anticipating the next weekly wick. I could potentially see another weekly wick to the upside into here, or even 165 before price can push down here. That's my outlook for sales if price rejects this area around here, right? We can see that we had a high, higher high, higher low, higher high, break of structure, lower high, lower low. We haven't made our lower high yet because we haven't broken this lower low. So we're still in between this higher high, lower high, sorry, and this lower low. We're still in between these two. So we don't know where our next lower high is. Could our lower high be here before price pushes down? Potentially. But as long as price maintains below this high, I am looking for sales. And the way I'll be looking for sales is not just in the middle of no man's land. I want price to potentially tap into this zone where we saw price wicking and have huge bullish momentum and breakthrough. Price came back below, tapped into this area and absolutely rolled over. So I could potentially see us coming back into this daily area of resistance and forming that lower high wick on the weekly time frame before we can push down into this or even here. We shall see depending on how price responds. But also, just subconsciously, I'm going to keep an eye on this area here. I'm not going to mark it up because I want to keep my charts clean, but I'm going to keep an eye on this area just in case, because we could potentially see something like this happening at low, lower high, lower low, potential double top around here, and something like that happening. So that's my bearish outlook. You have to have an outlook for both. And right now, it's a bit difficult for me to say what I think more of. But obviously, last week I told you I see price heading into 165, and that's what I see a higher probability happening. Of course, overall, we're still bullish, and we can still potentially see sales or buys this week. So it's a bit difficult to actually see where price is going to go this week due to this wick left to the upside. But I am anticipating a potential sales here or here. If see 165 is a nice area, if you actually zoom out, you can see 165 is a nice area, but price could come up into here. But I wouldn't be looking for strong sales here simply because if we come up here, that means there's a break of structure on the 4-hour time frame, and our weekly, our daily, if you can see, is bullish, right? Our daily is bullish. Our 4-hour will also become bullish because we will break this high, a lower high, and this will potentially form a higher high around here. We could see a pullback, break, and push up. So if we do go above this high, potentially what I would like is take a conservative approach, potentially wait for a break. Maybe we may see something like this, break off 165, pull back into 165 and buys into 168.817, which is a nice, strong, energetic area of resistance where price likes to respond from. Why would I look for buys at 165? Because we can see when price came into this area, we absolutely reversed. When price came to this area, we absolutely reversed. When price chopped above this area, we pumped up. Again, so if price comes, there's a higher probability of us pumping all the way back up here, then dropping back down here. So that's how I'm looking for sales. I'm waiting for 165 to be broken and retested and looking for buys there. As long as we maintain below this area, I'm looking for sales. So please have an adaptive mindset, especially when it's difficult to have a weekly outlook, or a weekly bias for this week. Just make sure you are ready for every type of condition the market offers you. Regarding gold, it's fairly straightforward for me. What we can see is that we are clearly bullish on the weekly time frame. We can see this was our lower high. We broke this area. We retested this area nicely. We can potentially see upside movement. The next area that I can see price tapping into is this nice weekly area of resistance. We can see 118.777. So I can't just assume price is going to break this area. I don't know. So if I am looking for buys, I'm potentially looking for buys here. Firstly, we know the weekly is bullish. We also know that when price came into this area, we saw a huge bullish engulfing. We closed above the previous weekly candle by quite a significant amount. We can see when price had an engulfing here, we rolled over. When price had an engulfing here, or no, that's not engulfing, but when price rejected here, we went back into this zone here. So there's a high probability that we can potentially tap into 1877. If we break 1877, we can potentially see price going to our next area of 1840. So now that I know I'm looking for buys, I'm not looking for sales this week, simply based off this weekly time frame. I highly doubt price coming all the way back down here, breaking this area and retesting and pushing down here. I don't really see that happening. So I'm not looking for sales this week. I'm looking for buys, and if buys opportunities don't present themselves, I'm leaving this pair alone. We can also see there's been a break of structure on the daily time frame. We can see on the daily we had a low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, break of structure. Can we see a pullback into this area for price to pump up into there? That's the trade I am looking for. That's my go-to trade, because we can clearly see this is the previous area of daily resistance. We saw a strong break above, which tells us buying momentum is here. If you go on the 4-hour time frame, we can clearly see that's bullish as well. So all time frames are in sync. Also, what can we see? When price came into this area, we had a nice push to the downside into 1832. Price came back up and absolutely rolled over into 1824. Price came back into this area, tapped once, left a huge wick, left another huge wick, and rolled over into 1807. Price came back into the zone again, left a huge wick, rejected, pushed down, left another huge wick. But on the daily time frame, we can see there's potential, some room for a pullback into this area right here. So based off this, there's a high probability that if price comes into this area, we can look for buyers. Now it's like, all right, cool. It's one thing saying wait for price to pull back, but how do we actually get in? I can see there's been some huge wicks here, so I'm going to be a little bit wary. I may anticipate some nice little wick happening through. Then I'll wait for price to maintain above this area, scale down on the 30-minute time frame, potentially put my stop losses below, and look for my TPs into 1877 and see how price reacts there. That is my weekly outlook. So on Gbpjpy, we don't have a clear direction right now due to this huge wick left to the upside. If price breaks 165 and retests, we will look for buys. If price maintains below this high, we will look for sales potentially down into here. You may want to look for some intraday sales from here to here if you are an intraday trader, but if you're looking to swing the intra-week moves, I will look for sales as long as we maintain below this high made. Thank you very much. Please leave your likes and comments, leave your feedback as well. And yeah, as you can see, I'm very tired. It's the time right now. The time is 12:15 midnight, so I'm gonna get some sleep now. So yeah, thank you very much.